What's up, guys? How you doing? I hope you're having a great day. We're going to be looking at the signs of inheritance. The reason why I'm looking at this topic today is because of a question that was asked about signs of inheritance. I can create a video for you if you ask for a request or if you lay a request for a particular topic. Ordinarily, I wanted to talk about the lifeline because there's also a lot of things to learn. But this topic is very seasoning. It's a very interesting topic, and the signs that I'm going to be mentioning to you are signs that I have seen evidence in the hands of people who became a benefactor to these signs of inheritance. Once again, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do well to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, share this video, and I'll really appreciate it. And in the course of time, I'm going to be doing a favor to some persons who honor my request. So today we're going to be talking about the signs of inheritance. You would agree with me that there are some persons who do not need to break a sweat to make a fortune in their lives. Why? Because something to inherit, wealth to inherit, money to inherit had been brought to their table, making their lives a lot easier. We also know of some persons too who need not work hard but work smart and yet make a fortune. But that will be a topic for another time. A very powerful mark that indicates a sign of inheritance is usually found in between the mount of Mercury and Sun. It comes like this. A curve. A little curve. Any person who has this curve on his dominant hand, which is the right hand, and sometimes on the left hand, implies that they are going to inherit wealth in terms of money, in terms of property into their lives. Now, the interesting thing about this is that there is no exact time frame when this provision will be made available to him or her. But a lot of families agree that it usually comes later on in their lives. But in my own evaluation, I would say that the privilege of this mark doesn't just come once in a lifetime. It could come repeatedly in one's life. It is a very powerful indication of inheritance whenever it is found on the palm of an individual. Now, please note, I had not mentioned this in the previous videos. When you are reading the palm of an individual or your palm, it is important that you begin with your dominant hand. If it's your left hand, that is your dominant hand. If it's your right hand that you use most times, that is your dominant hand, because your dominant hand reveals the life that you are living at the present moment. Your left hand, on the other hand, reveals the endowments that you came to earth with, and also speaks of your future. That's what it implies. It speaks of your future. That's why if you look carefully in both hands, you might see a great resemblance. And like I said, about palmistry before, it's flexibility, in the sense that if you find some unlucky signs in your left hand, which talks about your future, and you are courteous and conscious of making something good out of your life, you see that those inauspicious signs, those unlucky signs that were reflecting in your left hand, could gradually fade away and give way for lucky signs or an improvement on your lines in the dominant hand. Also, if you have a cross on this curved mark in between your mercury finger and your sun finger, something like this, it is not a good indication. It means that you are going to come across obstacles. Yes, you're going to come across obstacles, but most times the recipient of this inauspicious sign on this fortunate curve here normally overcome those obstacles and eventually have their birthright. Also, if you have a dot on that curve like this, it is also not a good sign. It means that before you eventually have your birthright, you are going to come across conspiracy, one conspiracy after the other. But because it had been ordained and imprinted in your palm that your birthright will be given to you, you will overcome this conspiracy against you and have that which is originally yours. Another indication of inheritance in your palm is a line on the mount of sun. This is your mount of sun. It comes like this. That line is a very important indication of inheritance. Many palmists believe that having such line on the mount of sun downwards is an indication of inheritance from your father. Okay, having that line also indicates that in this life you may not have need to work too hard to acquire wealth. But do not misunderstand me. Hard work is a requirement for success. However, working smart is more rewarding. If you look at the lives of most prominent people, you will agree with me that they do not work so hard, but because they are able to work smart, they make a fortune. If hard work was a requirement of success, of course, which is, most of the farmers in our rural areas would have long since made a fortune. But still, many of them are just able to live a basic life. So, to be blessed with a vertical line down from the mount of sun downwards is an indication of wealth. In fact, having that line on your hand is an indication that you are dynamic. You could receive wealth from your creative ability, from your innovative ideas, from even your depth of imagination. Yes, you can. But on top of it still, there is a likelihood that you have wealth coming to you in a platter of gold. If you have this vertical line in the mount of sun, even if you don't have a fixed line, which is a very important line I haven't talked about, it can still do you. This is how a fixed line will look like. It can still do you a world of good and even bring you to limelight. It can make you popular. It can give you fame. It can give you reputation. Yes, that's what it does. Another important thing to note in finding signs of inheritance in your palm, let me quickly draw the three major lines. We have the lifeline, we have the headline, and we have the heart line. Now, if you have a line coming from inside lifeline all the way to the mount of Mercury, that is another strong indication of inheritance that is awaiting you, because this lifeline represents the relationship that you have with your family. And so having a line travel all the way from here to the mount of Mercury, which represents chances of obtaining wealth, of excelling in business, of having an exceptional brilliance in your career, in your line of business, is an indication that you will make a fortune. You will make a fortune. And that fortune can come from your family, especially from your ancestors. You know, if you look carefully in the hands of estate owners who inherited wealth from their families, you may not be surprised to find a line traveling all the way from this mount down to the mount of Venus. This is the mount of Venus in the lifeline. It is enclosed with the lifeline. Another powerful indication is if you have a line traveling all the way from the mount of Saturn. This is your Saturn coming to your lifeline, inside your lifeline, and sitting on the mount of Venus. It is also another powerful indication of inheritance. So very likely you will come from a family that is well-to-do. Very likely you will come from a family that is successful, and in the course of time, money, property, even estates, landed property will be handed to you. That's the beauty of that line. Now, if the line is deep and clear, it makes your chances all the more possible, in the sense that you will receive sufficient money that can cater for your needs and your desires throughout your lifetime. However, if the line is thin, the same can be said, but it might the resources you will get from this inheritance will only be for a limited period of time. We also have another indication of wealth coming from inheritance, and that is called an island. In my previous video, we say that island in most cases is an unfavorable sign, but if it comes in between the phalanges of your thumb like this, looking like a grain of rice, it is a very good indication of wealth that will come to you from inheritance. These kind of people are resourceful and they have the intelligence and flexibility to adapt to the business world and make a fortune out of it. If this sign of island is in the thumb of a lady, chances are also that she would get married to a wealthy person. Having these signs or lines that I have mentioned generally, especially this island in between your thumb, is also an indication that even in times of difficulties, when you haven't put in concerted effort in making wealth, wealth will locate you. Money will always find a way of coming to you to meet your needs. So, friends, these are the signs that we have that indicates inheritance coming our way as a birthright. Now, a piece of advice to us, having these signs is a sure indication, but just sitting still and waiting for a fortune to drop on your lap is not an ideal thing to do. You know, in spite of what we benefit from an inheritance that is prepared and kept for us, or our chances to win lotteries, because having these signs too is an indication that you can win a lottery and make a fortune. You know, it is also important that we use our resources we are endowed with to diversify our chances of making wealth and blessing humanity. So, a quick recap of what we have learned today. You have a slight curve between the mount of Mercury and the sun finger. It is a sure indication of wealth coming your way. But when you have a cross, it implies that you will come across obstacles. But chances are that you will overcome your obstacle and get your birthright. If you have a dot, which is not a favorable sign, it means that there will be conspiracy against you. There will be people fighting against you. There will be people who want to take from you your birthright. But chances also are that you would overcome them by reason of this powerful slight curve in between these two mounts. When you have a line traveling from the lifeline, inside the lifeline to the mount of Mercury, you remember the mount of Mercury has a lot to do with business, communication, and making wealth. So when you have a line traveling from inside the lifeline down to this Mercury, it indicates that you get support from your family to succeed and to build from where they left off. When you have a line in your sun mount downwards, it is an indication of wealth. an indication of fame, reputation, popularity. People with this kind of line like to be in the spotlight. And the very fortunate thing about this line is that if you are resourceful, it will not be difficult for you to showcase it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are talented and gifted, but they lack the platform to market themselves. But if you have this line in your mouth of sun coming downwards, or even ending here at the headline, at the heartline or the headline, it is a sure indication that you will be at the right place in the right time to sell yourself and make a fortune out of it. Now, for those whose sunlight ends at the heartline, it means that your wealth will come later in life, past your middle age. It will come at the age of 50, 55. If it stops at the headline, it indicates that it will come at about the age of 35. If it still comes all the way down, it is an indication that it will come a lot earlier than that. When you have a line coming from inside the lifeline to the mouth of Saturn, it's just about the same thing like the line coming from Venus to the mouth of Mercury. It's just that any line coming from here to this point indicates that your fortune will come a little later in life. You may have to prepare yourself, and prove yourself worthy of the inheritance that will come to you. That's the difference. And if you have an island in your thumb, and I mean a complete island, not something like this. If it's not closed, chances are that you'll be fortunate, the wealth will come, you have the resourcefulness, the inheritance will come, but it may not come whole. In fact, it will not come whole. I mean this. You may be deprived of some part of your inheritance that is rightfully yours. And like I said earlier, if it's found in the palm of a woman, it's an indication that she will marry a rich man, a wealthy man. If it's found in the hand of a man, it's an indication that he will be wealthy and wealth would find you. Finally, it just came to my mind, we have a sign called fish. It comes like this. If you have fish sign, which is one of the most lucky signs anybody can have, somewhere up here, like this, somewhere up here, or attached to the lifeline, it is an indication that you would also have wealth and fortune from your family line. Yes. I have tried not to mention signs that will come so much from your own effort, labor, resourcefulness, but I have settled more on signs that indicate wealth coming to you as a result of your birthright, or because it had been predestined that these things will come your way without having to labor much. So, my friends, this is all we have for today. Thanks for watching. I'll come with even more interesting videos, and I'm looking forward to receiving questions. I have some persons telling me they would like me to assess their hands. If you want me to do that, I will do it without revealing your identity, so that you can get to know yourself better, know your strengths, know your chances, and have a beautiful life. Thank you very much.